It's time for Rabbi Minkowicz's Weekly Torah Lesson, a place where life's most difficult questions are answered. Here with his spiritual perspective and insight, Rabbi Minkowicz.
Welcome to this week's Torah lesson. This week's Torah portion is Parshat Noach. The question of the week is, can you stray too far that you can't return? So in this week's Torah portion, Parshat Noach, we learn about Noah, who was saved by God when the whole world was corrupt, and God decided to save Noah by bringing a flood and saving Noah in an ark that was built. Now what's interesting is that Kabbalah asks a very interesting question on this week's Torah portion. On one hand, the name of the Torah portion is called Noah, because Noah is the name of the person that God saves. Also, Noah comes from the word of rest and tranquil, so to speak, a peaceful experience. So the question is asked, true, for Noah, it was peaceful. He was going to be saved. But the whole Torah portion deals with the destruction of the world. God bringing in a flood and destroying the whole world. So what's so peaceful about the destruction of the world? So the Kabbalists explain a powerful insight as follows. God could have done many things to destroy the world and rebuild it from Noah. He chose specifically to bring a flood. What's the idea of a flood? A flood is where there's a huge amount of water that comes in and washes out the world physically from all the bad people, spiritually also purifies the world, but more importantly, the Kabbalists say that God came along with the flood and did something unique that specifically only a flood was able to do. In other words, if you think about a hard mass, it's hard, it's not flexible. If you take it and you soak it in water, it becomes soft and soft until you can actually maybe even bend it. So God bringing the flood wasn't just to destroy the people and to save Noah, but more importantly, God was creating a new dynamic in the physical structure of the world that affected the spiritual structure of the world. In other words, up until the flood, the world was hard. It was not flexible. The flood caused the world to become more flexible. On a spiritual level, up until the flood, someone did something wrong. You did something wrong, you're punished, whatever the punishment may be. And unfortunately, in that case, the people were punished by death. When the flood came along, God said, if you read in the Torah, God says, I'll never have to bring a flood again. Why? People still sinned, because that's correct. People sinned like they sinned before. But the difference is that God created a reality that after the flood, people are more flexible. That means after your sin, you're not strong and saying, listen, I'm right. And you're not willing to admit the fact that you did something wrong. You're willing to be flexible and say, you know what, I did something wrong. And I want to do tshuva, I want to repent, and I want to return to God. And with the idea of God bringing in the flood, God created a reality that anybody and everybody, no matter how far you strayed, you always have that power of flexibility to always come back home. So to answer the question, how far can one go where it's not possible to return? And the answer, as you see from this week's Torah portion, as far as you go, you can always return. We each have it within us, that flexibility that was created by the flood. Just like we bounced away, we can bounce back. This week's Torah lesson is dedicated to the memory of Baruch ben Aryeh Leib, whose yahrzeit is celebrated this week. May his soul be elevated by the Torah study that we're studying in his memory. Thanks so much for joining us for our weekly Torah lesson. Please join us for live classes here at Chabad. Thursday morning there's a Parsha class at 11 o'clock. Thursday evening we have a Parsha class at 7 o'clock. Shabbat morning we have a Kabbalah class at 9 o'clock, followed by davening and a Farbrengen. Shavua Tov, and have a great week.